everyone. Welcome to Working Title Female Podcast. Today we have Mahendra joining us. She's a touring professional who has played in the Cactus Tour, Australian Tour, Ladies European Tour, multiple Q schools, and have represented Indonesia since her junior golf days. Played for the University of New Mexico. Please welcome Mahendra.
Hi, thanks for having me, Karamia.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have you.
So glad to be here to answer your questions and just to share.
We grew up playing golf together. I think you're one of my first pairings di Pondok Indah.
Oh my God, you remember that? I don't remember that. I just know you.
I remember because I played so bad.
I don't remember that, but I always remember you and your sisters are always like compact. I don't know what's that in English.
Okay. So my first question is, what was life like before your sport?
I think I've always played sports, like playing taekwondo or just swimming or like basketball in primary school. And then my dad started to introduce me to golf when I was in maybe 5th grade or something, when I was 10 years old, basically. So he brought me to Jagorawi Golf Club and I just started hitting golf balls there. So I think I've always been sporty and I like being sporty. My dad is very supportive. Yeah, I think both of my parents and my uncles play golf, so we can play together as families. I've always been just like working towards something. I'm quite a serious kid as I was growing up, so maybe I'm still serious until now. Touring since 2016. That's when I turned pro, June 2016. I was doing Cactus Tour. It's like a mini tour in Arizona. I was in Monash University in Melbourne, and then I felt like this isn't working for me. Golf in Australia like there is in US. So I started looking for a scholarship in the US. Started to talk to a lot of coaches. I emailed them one by one. I think I emailed like 114 schools and I got 14 replies. It felt like so driven to go to the US and do the college golf thing. So that's how it started, and then so I ended up in Lander University Division 2 first before I moved to University of New Mexico. I think it's because I initially wanted to go to Division 1, but I had problems with NCAA because I was too on it. Like I I received money as an amateur, and that's one of the wrong rule to say to NCAA. So I got penalized for like whatever amount I got. And I was also honest about that. They told me to like donate it to a non-profit organization in America. And so I did, and then I can move to Division 1 and I have to sit 3 tournaments or 30% of tournaments on the first year in Division 1. So that was about 3 or 4 tournaments. I ended up only playing 2 events as my senior year in New Mexico.
How was the transition from not playing golf in Australia to playing at New Mexico?
I went to Lander first in South Carolina. I think I learned a lot being a student athlete. Division 2 was not as disciplined and as hardworking as Division 1. So you can like see the difference there. And then when I moved to D1, it's like you have a lot to lose. I mean, even in Division 2, you have a lot to lose as a student athlete because you have scholarships, you have some privileges, like, for example, getting the classes 1 week before everyone else. And then, like, you have your own building. You just have a lot to lose, basically, like the scholarship things. So you have to be, like, working hard, very careful with things and decisions, and just have to get your grades up to maintain or to gain more scholarships, basically. I mean, you know how it is. You've been there. So anyways, I was so much happier when I moved to US because I felt like I had more purpose there. The golf and the student athlete was exciting for me. I mean, it was a lot of hard work and exhausted by the end of the week, but it felt like accomplished kind of feeling.
So it's always rewarding after you put so much effort and then you see the results of that. Okay. You mentioned transition from D2 to D1.
Yeah.
Was there other than work, I would say the student athlete culture, do you have any cultural shocks from
I was very happy when I was in D2 in South Carolina. I was in Greenwood. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. There were probably only 5,000 people there. And there was no Indonesians in the school.
Thinking about after college golf. So how did you know you want to turn pro?
Oh, I think I kind of decided that when I moved from Australia to America for the college golf. Like, I think I want to give this a try because my dad is very sportive. He really loves golf, and I think he mentioned about LPGA when I was little. You could actually play with Anika Sorensen when you're 18. She would be 38, but she retired, and I was in college.
Did the math for you.
And then I think I was in college or something. Anyways, maybe it's something fun to try and play professional golf. That was my thought. And then it got hard when you turn pro.
I would love to hear some of the stories. Like, what are some stories you remember that taught you the hardest lessons when you transitioned to that?
It's hard when you're alone and it's not cheap. Where do I start? So basically, I think in Australia, I was doing Australian tour in 2018, 2019, somewhere there. So like week to week, you move to a different place. So it goes from January until March or April, and then every week you move to a different place. And so you're staying in the member's house. And so you get to meet a lot of new people. But it's not that easy back then for me because I have to like be nice all the time, and I was very tired. And then you have to meet new people every week, and so it's just like up here is very like I want to sleep, I want to not do anything, talk to anybody. I mean, if you had a good day, you play well, that's great, but when you miss the cut, it's like, oh my god, I have to do so much. Like
on top of the mental stress you're having here for your performance, you have to be nice.
Sometimes you just want to turn off everything and just be in your own world, like zone out or whatever.
I can't imagine.
So
Wow.
it's like at least I think like 6 weeks at least. So 6 weeks you move every week.
How do you maintain your sanity, or like do you schedule it out? Like how does it work?
I just follow the schedule that they have. So you move from one place to another. For example, there was a tournament in New South Wales, Australia, but it was like 9 hours by train from Sydney. So I took a train to experience and to save money, and it was tiring just to be in the train for 9 hours.
Luggage?
Well, it was like a decent train, so my golf bags was in like a luggage place somewhere. And then, so it was from the Sydney in the middle of the city to Coffs Harbour, which is like north, I think. It was a little nice city, has beaches around it, very beautiful course, Bonville Golf Club. But yeah, the traveling and the pressure and meeting people, and when you meet them, they expect you to do well because you're staying in their house. I mean, they're nice enough to let us stay and to cook us meals and take us around. They understand, I guess, a little bit, but yeah, it's still tiring. But it's nice to meet other people also from other countries. Sometimes we're in the same house, but if they're not friendly, then it sucks. I've never really had that experience, but usually you're paired with your friend that you travel with, or just someone who doesn't have any other friend that they travel with.
Now, does the tour do the pairing, or you kind of put
the
an
tour.
application in? The tour.
The tour does it, but when I'm alone, then they pair me with someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little off your plate, but that still doesn't mean that you can't just sit around and like sleep and enjoy or like decompress, I would say.
Yeah. And then when it's sometimes the house doesn't have AC, and it was summer in Australia, so you just have to get used to like using fan, but I'm not used to it, I guess. Growing up in Jakarta. Yeah, so everyone has different culture and background and way of thinking, but then they can still play well, so I learned something like math. So to get to 10, there's so many different ways. I meant to get to a number, for example, 10 is like 100 minus 90 or 1 plus 9. I mean, like to get to this result, there's so many different ways just to put the ball in the hole. So I just have to find my own and be comfortable with it, with the uncomfortableness. Comfortable in uncomfortable. So
being comfortable in the discomfort.
Yes, that's it.
That's beautiful. Wow. What a great thing to learn from another player.
And then usually the better players are the ones who are comfortable in their discomfort and like used to it, or just very confident about it. So yeah, you can see that in good players. my 2017 was like the best results for me so far.
I remember the lineup. It was not easy. Like the fact that
Oh my God,
you
talking
have
about lineups, I have a story. So
no,
in New
please.
Mexico, because I came as a senior, so there was this rule. I think it's been there for a while. So if the freshmen beat the seniors by not much, like wait, no, if the seniors beat the freshmen by not a lot, they didn't say how
What's
much,
not a
it's a
lot?
lot.
How many strokes?
Yeah, that's
We
we
tell
don't know.
numbers.
The freshmen get to go.
Okay.
So basically, I took the fifth spot as a senior, and the freshman was sixth. But because I only beat her by 3 strokes after the qualifying rounds, I don't know how many days it was. So she get to go. I was like, FML.
Oh my God, that's insane. I
I
know
mean,
if it's a coach's pick, cause like some tournaments are all like qualified based, and then there are that's like top three qualifiers and then two coaches pick.
no,
I
I
don't know
think
how
it's
it
just
works.
the coach's rule personally. So if the seniors don't beat the freshmen by a lot, the freshmen get to go. Oh well. Anyways.
Oh well. Anyways,
Yeah.
I mean, we always, for the most part, my experience has always been like top three qualifiers. So you'll play 2 or 3 rounds depending on the weather, and then go
Yeah, you're in Michigan. The weather, how is the weather there? Cold.
do we need to go there? My Floridian, because I went to IMG, it was
Yes.
like, it was 80, it was basically Indonesian weather, so except winter. Then, I learned the concept of layering, right?
That's probably one of the most exciting time of my life. I was only there for 1 month, but you meet like a lot of famous athletes, right?
You
Like
do.
you met Sharapova and all that.
She came in a lot. Like Sharapova came at some point. Serena, Venus, I think, trained. It was literally academy full of Olympians until this day. So at least like when I was there, and it was really small. Everybody pretty much know everyone else. So like we would run each other in the cafeteria. But the best part was always learning from one another. I'm the nerdiest one of them all, right? Like Jeremia will be in bed on time or studying. So I am that Asian. I mean, learning from other players have always been something that I loved going to IMG. Like bent grass, not Bermuda. It's very different than Indonesia,
Yeah.
where everything's Bermuda and grainy. What are some stories what are some good and bad things that you carry through when you transition?
I think my time in Australia, because it's like a at least 6 week stretch, I learned so much from there. Like pushing your boundaries yourself. It's not just about the golf on the golf, but when you're traveling, you're tired, you still have to drive like this amount of hours, so you have to push yourself, otherwise you'll get lost or otherwise you'll not get there in time. So you have to push your I'm tired, but I have to do this. I have to do this right, and I have to be what is it called? You have to be responsible of everything, kind of thing. You have to get it together while you're crazy. So it's a lot actually, but I learned a lot from it. It's something that I really pushed myself to get everything together because I'm already here. My parents already sponsor me and I'm here and I have to do this, and so I have to like do this well. There's a lot of that too, and so yeah, I just sort of push through.
You feel responsible,
Yeah, responsible.
accountable. I almost want to say also like it sounds like a lot of perseverance and grit you have to develop to get through.
And then you have to manage
3 months of touring, dude. That's not a small
yeah,
amount.
and then you have to manage your energy because the next day you have practice round, and then maybe the next day is the tournament. But you're lucky if you have 1 day off. But yeah, usually you have like 1 day off, and then the rest of is just grinding or moving. 2020 actually was my last year in Australia. I think I got back from Australia like in February, and then I swear I was like, God, I need a break, and then COVID happened. I was like, thank God, it's like perfect timing. So basically 2017 was the best year of my touring, and then 18, 19, 20 I went down, 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 and I felt like there's something wrong with me. I need to get healthy. So yeah, I was sick in 2020. I had some internal problem, and then I went to the doctor, and then antibiotic made it worse actually. Like the test result came and it was worse, the numbers. I'm like, what happened? And so I gave up using doctors and I just started to go vegan for like 5 to 10 months. And actually I remember Novak Djokovic posted something like celery juice in his Instagram like months ago, and then I checked that out and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try this. I don't know why, for some reason it just clicked to me, and I start celery juicing every morning. And so after like 7 months, I went back to the doctor and it's done. I'm not sick anymore. Like the numbers were dropped like below the line, and thank God this worked. So I started to believe in food, in what goes in my body, and so I'm very mindful with what goes to my body now, until now. I mean, I think I did a lot of research about the celery juice thing and what I need to eat to heal certain things. Yeah, a lot of research on vegan and plants and what they help you, how they help you, stuff like that. So that really helped me and gain knowledge about that.
Do you have caddies when you tour, or just yourself?
No, well, if you're in Asia, yes, but if you're in Australia or South Africa, well, South Africa I do, but like America and Australia, no.
Yeah,
And
so you're
probably
out
Europe,
there
no. I
by
mean, they do,
yourself.
but it's so expensive. Yeah.
So they gave you the option, but you don't have to. So what you're saying?
Yeah, or sometimes there's like volunteers, or if you prefer to just carry yourself, which I do in Australia, I carry myself, or with a push cart. But in Asia, you get caddies from the club, like here in Jakarta, because I hear so much about people bullying. Oh my God, this player sucks. This, blah blah blah. Just in general. So when I play bad, I just wonder what the people in my house think of me, or like when your house somewhere, they just welcome you and all that. Sometimes when you don't want playing well, I don't know, just negative things come into your head. Like, oh,
I
do
can.
you think I'm like really sucks? But I am really sucks this week. So I don't know, those depressing thoughts. Just,
Well, what did you do to
hard.
get over it?
No, they're nice apparently, but I was just thinking what they think. But I think it's no big deal. It's just a sport after all. Like life's bigger than golf. So they're nice. I mean, I'm fortunate to have met like nice people, very welcoming. But it's still, I don't know, tough.
Absolutely. It's like we are our own worst critic, right? I mean, keeping things in perspective is something I admire. Like you've probably heard Scotty Scheffler. He talks about like he just when he wins a master, no big deal. He would go home and still cut the grass and keep things normal. And I mean, I think it's beautiful to know that you're still a human being. You're more than just a sport or,
It's
although
true,
you make a living out of it.
but also when you're growing up, you put your like 200% into this sport. So it's like you expect something out of it. But I don't know, I think knowing how God loves me is like important, so that I, I'm not defined by my failures or my sport, but I'm defined by what He defines me. So it has helped me a lot. Yeah.
That should be talked about a lot more. That was something that I wish I kind of embodied and knew earlier, because I think when I saw you, in one of my booths, I was already like 3 years in, right? I was starting my business, but I told you I hated golf. I didn't want to play it because I felt like a failure too. Like I didn't even turn pro. Like I was just like, nah, it ain't for me.
But I admire those people who just decided, okay, I'm just gonna do what I love, which you do. And and then you're
But I
doing
also love golf.
yeah, and you're doing great at what you love, like your business. It's really cool, really cute, really
Thanks,
nice.
sis.
Yeah.
Well, that means a lot to me, especially because like like when I saw you in that, I think I was like either drama or just forgot.
Yeah, just as
And like, yeah, I didn't even care for golf because I didn't think it was an option anymore. I just felt like I was so defined by the sport that I didn't mean anything if I want to pick it up again. But it was a very unhealthy association of self, right? Which is what you were talking about when you said like, I am more than just this game, this sport.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you start defining yourself by that thing, which, as you said, like we put 200, 300, everything we have, it's kind of hard not to see yourself win.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, community and faith is a huge, I think, conversation student athletes in general should have to keep it healthy.
Yeah. But you've always been really good in your education, so when
I'm a nerd, been always one.
Well, I didn't know you went to Italy for the fashion school, but wow.
I did. I was speaking to another friend who actually I met in Italy. I told her entering into fashion was I think it saved a lot of my mental space because nobody cared about golf. Nobody cared about like what lineup I was. Like I went to a pretty big school and it was kind of gangsy,
It's scholarships and it was I mean, not everyone will turn pro, right?
Yeah, but it felt like if you were like a perfectionist, it's like, oh, I gotta get what I set out to do. So when I don't get it, it's it wasn't healthy. So when I went to fashion, nobody cared about golf, and I loved that because I learned like what Karamia likes, what Karamia doesn't like what's her hobby outside of sport. Do you remember like those phases where you're like, outside of golf, ngapain? I don't know. I eat, sleep.
Yeah. I mean, it was that intense, you know? It's not like it's a
It's not a
hobby.
joke.
It's like you put all your soul and work hard towards it.
It's literally physically, mentally, spiritually, you are with
Yeah.
that little white golf ball.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But
But
whatever.
if you're looking back, it's like it would have been, yeah, it is what it is, and you kind of hope that you can pass on the wisdom to someone so they don't have to struggle as much, right? It took
Yeah.
me 10, 11 years to pick up my clubs again. Like, Ayola, you don't have to stay that long, far away, couple of years, not a decade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were
But
enjoying yourself, so doing different thing, and then you came back eventually, so
like I appreciate the game now for what I stand, what I define it as. Not the game doesn't the game doesn't define me. I define the game for myself now.
yeah,
But
that's good.
going back to the question of like female athlete and what you wish you knew about. So you said faith and you said kind of being able to, I think in a lot of ways, be aware of where you are in the spectrum of like your value, right? Is there anything else that you wish
Yeah.
you knew before turning pro as a touring professional?
I feel like my biggest mistake was the NCAA, and I was in a desperate mode when I was doing all the applications. So, like talking to God really helped me. Like, calms me down, and He kind of tells me the steps for walking with me. So maybe if I had like asked God's help earlier, I wouldn't have to go through all that stupid NCAA mistakes. I mean, I got penalized for being honest, but also I didn't know the rules. So the mistake there is that I should have known the rule better. And also maybe because I was at the time I was one of the first ones, I guess. And
Yeah.
I text someone and they didn't reply me. Maybe they're busy or whatever. So it was hard. I didn't get like the help or the information extra that I needed maybe. Anyways, there's just a lot of mistakes with the NCAA, so I couldn't get to Division One from the beginning. So I guess that was my biggest mistake in this whole thing. Golf career is just learning as you go.
Yeah,
You
I
keep
mean,
learning.
I think you like the first ones that went overseas were you, me, Retno, Ines Bali for college.
Yeah, right.
And anyone
Yeah,
else?
you're right. No.
That was it, right?
Yeah, we were the first ones.
We were literally the first one. We were the guinea pigs. I remember I had to also apply for a lot. I mean, I knew about college, but I also had the same dream. Like, I wanted to turn pro, but I was not good enough. So I played for a really good school, and I think I learned the value of balance because my parents kind of made sure, like, hey, just know that education is number one. You have to go through school. That wasn't a question. It was like embedded in me, but I didn't know what college sport was. I just knew that I had to be good fast. And yeah, I mean, at the time, we didn't have, like, it was still dial up, right? Like, I remember I had to plug in an Ethernet cable to get internet in IMG.
I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't
I think so.
Wi-Fi. It was definitely
yeah.
because I was mailing resumes. Mailing resumes.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you can't email at the time college coaches until your junior year, but they can email you. They can send you pamphlets and stuff. I got a bunch, but it wasn't like now where you could follow on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was
Everything is-
Instagram? Instagram
everything's so
came when we
easy.
were in college.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, which is really good when you're coming from, especially this side of the world where at the time didn't really even matter.
I think we come really far, where we come from to USA, it's like a long way. And some coaches appreciate that. Yeah, I just appreciate the whole experience of NCAA, even though I made mistakes.
But I mean, your story is going to help someone else down the road, right? I always believe like your challenge is ammunition to help someone else later on down the road. So it's not yours to keep, it's for you to pass on. Well, at least that's for me.
I agree.
Okay, well, I mean, thanks for that answer. That's really amazing to talk about faith. I really think that deserves a whole new talk because having something that's higher than yourself is always a lot.
Yeah, I think I came to a point where this is when I'm already turned pro. This is after I graduated. This is when I was in Arizona. Came to a point in my life where I'm so sick of living for myself and I want to live for something higher than me. Like, where is the meaning of life? And so I began the search of a thing.
Now that you've already matured into a touring player, do you have any tricks that you would share to our sisters who struggle with female problems?
I think
Thousands of ways.
like a junior asked me that kind of question, but I couldn't really answer, so I passed it on to a different pro. So it was about period. So I usually get my period after I'm done with my tournament. So like if I have a tournament, usually like I'm really stressed. But this was like a few years ago. As the years go by, I get more relaxed, and then so for the first time, I got my period on my tournament. So it got better as the year relaxed. So yeah.
I couldn't like it would always wait. It was when it's time. Well, I actually had a lot of period problems growing up. Never came on time. It wasn't and it was to a point where I got really worried. But I think as it was a mix of stress, it was a mix of I think like just a lot of like, I really don't know.
Okay, so I had a surgery because it caused me to bleed every day heavily for 4 months. And so when I was in IMG, there is a doctor that I went to because in Arizona all the surgeons were busy and I couldn't get surgery until a few months later. And so I found a doctor and then he said, oh, he needs to be taken out soon. And so thankfully it went really well, and so after that I had my period normal, thankfully. And so yeah, but it was quite a hustle too. Like in the middle of your golf camp, suddenly you have to do a surgery by yourself. Like all your friends were in Arizona, and then all the people in the camp have paid that expensive camp, so they have to stay there. So no one came to I was literally alone in the hospital. I didn't even take a picture. Like I don't know, I was too much pain or something. And so they cut you open, they close you, and then they said, oh, you can go home. I was like, what? I can't even walk. I can't even walk. I'm in so much pain. I can't even walk. So okay, you can stay for a day, but that's it. That's your insurance. Okay, so I stayed for a day and I learned to walk, and I literally couldn't walk. Yeah, by myself.
Like with a walker?
Yeah, and with a nurse. And my dad came a week later because he cannot come right away or something. Because it was a sudden thing. Yeah. So when I wake up, my dad surgery went well, and he came 6 days later. So he stayed with me at the MG camp for my recovery. So
wow. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, no, it's serious stuff because look, like when I was during my college, I had very irregular periods. And then it didn't get normal until recently after I started picking up weights again. I gained a lot of weight, and then I was stressed, so period was extremely irregular and painful. It's now we have alternatives, right? We have longer, shorter pads, right? And then we also have different types of tampons, sizes. Oh my god, I didn't even know what tampon was. I had to get it from my school teacher to get a tampon. Tell me a little bit about what you see that's cool or something you want to share in the Olympics, because I know you've been also resharing stories about it, which I think is really cool.
I'm just into gymnastics. I don't know why. I think I watched the London 2012 by accident, or it was just on the browser somewhere. And I really just fell in love with gymnastics because it's a combination of sports and arts, and then it's thrilling, high adrenaline sports, which is so different than golf. So I just admire something different than my sport, and so I don't know. I've always loved sports and arts. So if you combine them together, you get something like gymnastics, and I don't know. I just like it. So I guess I learn a lot too from different athletes and their struggles and their thriving to be perfect. I mean, at the end of the day, they only see our scores, when we talk about that, honestly. And so making cuts is good enough for those struggling people. But when you see the leaderboards, why are you in the bottom? I'm just happy I made the cut. Okay, please be quiet. See you later.
Seriously, do you not know what it feels like to be touring for 3 months and still make the cut and keep my sanity?
Yeah, and then you have to keep your card by making enough money by the end of the year, being top 50 or top 60 or whatever. Otherwise, you have to go back to Q school and pay another, in LPGA 2,500 for first stage, and then 4,000 second stage, and 1,000 something on the final stage. It's a lot of money, and for different tours, it's not quite that much, but it's still a lot. Berapa ya in Thai tour? Forgot how much, but not as much as LPGA, obviously. But yeah, it's just a hustle. You have to go back to Q school and do the whole thing again.
Even like getting food,
Yeah, no.
lodging, travel, gas, insurance, flights, etc., snacks.
And some retail therapy, like shopping. Well, that's not necessary, but then sometimes you're like, this is cute. I feel like juniors was so much fun when we went to Junior World, remember, in San Diego? That's so fun, you know.
I love those
I feel
days.
like parents just need to embrace their junior years, and then the kid will decide whether they want to continue with college or pros after that. Having like a really good junior years or just embracing what you have is really important, I think.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, what would you tell your, parents of little girls interested in sports, especially when sports like golf is pretty relatively expensive to start?
I think they have to like it or enjoy it. Maybe you can try, if they don't like it, how they do after they do it. Do they still want to do it or not? You can always experiment, right? But then I think if you don't like golf, then don't waste your time because it's a lot of money and it's also tiring. Just, I think enjoy is like really important nowadays, or anytime. Just have a good time. Okay,
So the first question is, what is the best advice you've received?
Well, my dad always says never give up, but that thing cannot go on forever.
What is the worst advice you've ever received?
I try not to think about it really. Like, life is hard enough and then you remember all the bad stuff. I'm just trying to think about positive things when things are south, or think of heavenly things like the Bible says.
What is a lesson you learned the hard way?
And so being honest but not knowing the rule. Oh, that was awful.
What is a message you want to leave behind?
For athletes and moms. Enjoy and embrace what you have, what God has given you.
If you can change any stereotype as a female or a female athlete, what would it be?
I feel like I'm being tested right now. We're just as good as any other men in our own division. Yeah, in our own definition.
I agree. Absolutely agree. Well, Dea, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I always love talking to you. It'll be really nice to see this video in a couple decades.
Ooh, when we're
That'd be pretty cool. When we're old and gray.
Well, all right. Thanks,
I'm
girl.
excited for you. Thanks for everything. And to everyone who supported Dea, thank you. I'm going to link down all your LinkedIn and whatever you want me to link in, because it's going to be on YouTube too.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for watching.